Hey everyone, Brent from Stella Benaria Nursery here, and we're continuing our tomato plant care series of videos. Our previous one was on pruning, so if you haven't watched that, make sure to go back and check that out. It's very important in terms of taking care of your tomato plants. Pruning will do a lot to get you more production from your plants. Today we're here to talk about staking and tying your tomato plants to the stake specifically. So we'll start here with the types of stakes that we have. Now, a lot of people get tomato cages, right? That's what's marketed. That's what a lot of people think they need for their tomatoes. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but tomato cages are fairly limiting in terms of what they will allow for with growth of the tomato plant. So the cage is fine, maybe for even determinate ones that you want to allow to bush out but not get too crazy. That can kind of help contain that. But for indeterminate plants, so like this Black Prince tomato plant here, we use these stakes. And they're made of a composite material. They're very lightweight, very affordable. You can get them in like packs of 6, 12, 24 on Amazon. Very affordable. And they do a great job. They go into the ground really easily. You can push them pretty far down into the dirt. These are 8 feet tall. It's about 1.5 feet into the ground right now. This is on the 3rd tier of a 3-tier tomato bed, so it's up a little bit higher than something at ground level would be, obviously. But you can really push these far into the ground and they will withstand a lot of wind, a lot of weather. They're really good. So again, this is what I use. You can get wooden stakes too. Those work really well. I know that they sell those in 8, 10 foot length, so you can get those as well. It's really a personal preference, but I really like these. They've worked well for me for a couple of years now. But we're talking today about making sure you have stakes for your indeterminate tomatoes to encourage upward growth and to make sure that you can tie them, right? So we want to be able to tie them to the stake that they're near. That's a big part of the point here. So you can see up a little bit closer here now. This Black Prince tomato plant has got tomatoes. We've got tomatoes forming here and some down here as well. Kind of on this little vine here. So what we want to do, you can kind of see this is starting to sort of get a little bit bendy, right? And that's not good. We want it to be going straight up. We don't want it to kind of be having spine issues. So you can use all kinds of different things for tying your tomato plants. My parents used to use old stockings, and that worked perfectly well. My dad used to use those to tie tomato plants to the stakes and to the cages that they had, and it worked fine. It was perfectly fine, but I like to use this. It's called BioStretch. So this is biodegradable. It will break down naturally. If it falls off into the garden, it's not going to be a problem. It becomes part of the system, which is great. But it's very durable, very strong stuff. So we want to make sure that we're tying these for a few different reasons. One is we want to make sure that the plant's not drooping down, right? That's not going to be good. That's going to potentially lead to it snapping, especially if there's any kind of heavy winds. It's not going to be strong. That's one reason. We also want to keep the plant and the fruit away from the ground, right? So if it starts drooping down, the parts that are producing the tomatoes are going to droop down to the ground, and that enables pests like ants and slugs and all kinds of other bugs and animals to get to our crops, get to our fruit. We don't want that. So that's another reason, right? And then finally, it much like the pruning, it encourages upward growth, right? It encourages the plant to keep going straight up, and it keeps it sort of in the same space where you want it to be. You can plant tomato plants very close together if you prune them and you stake them properly. A lot of people think that you spread them really far out so that they have a lot of room, and you can do that. But if you have a limited amount of space, you can really maximize that space by pruning and staking your tomato plants. Because you can see this is fairly skinny, right? We pruned it in our last video. We pruned this, and it's not taking up a ton of space laterally, right? We're trying to encourage it to move upward. So what we're going to do is taking a piece of this, right? All right. So you want there to be a little bit of give. See, that's moving. You can see that there's a little bit of a stretchy element to that, and it has room to move. So if it's windy, that's going to allow it to move with the wind. If you tie it too tightly, it can snap. You restrict it too much, it's not a good thing. So you want there to be some flexibility there to where the plant can still move as the wind moves. That's what we're going for, that balance between, yeah, we want it to stay put, but we also want it to be able to move. It's kind of like a skyscraper, right? They build them in such a way that they're not so rigid. They actually do slightly move. They're built to have a tiny bit of flexibility, because the alternative could be very bad, right? So tying these is a really important step here. You can see already this plant was leaning away. We're keeping it to the pole. We're keeping it to the stake here. It's going to keep going up, right? You see how high that stake is, right? That is what we want. We want it to continue to climb up as much as possible, because if we do that, it's going to continue. We're sending a message to the plant by allowing that upward growth. We're saying we want you to keep growing up, not out, and to continue producing fruit, right? And these things, doing these things every so often, because this isn't going to be as much as the pruning. The pruning's probably going to be once, twice a week at least. This might be once a week, once every 2 weeks, every 10 days, something like that. It really depends on how your plants are growing. But the pruning is going to be more frequent, but you can't neglect tying this, because as it gets taller, it's going to keep trying to droop, because it gets taller and heavier. You get more tomatoes on the vine. That makes the plant heavier. So all of these things are reasons why we want to tie our plants. We want to make sure that they're tied to the stake, that the stake is firmly in the ground, and that it can support the weight. Like I said, this is a lightweight stake, but it's so deep into the ground, it's very heavily rooted into the ground, that this is going to, you can see I'm moving this, right? This is the movement it has. So on a windy day, that's what it's going to do, right? This isn't going to snap. This isn't going to topple over. It is firmly rooted in the ground, and then the plant is tied down at the bottom and then up here. Actually, we'll probably get up to about here. When the plant gets to that height, we'll have to tie it again, right? So it's a constant process to take care of your plants. If you take care of your plants, they're going to take care of you, right? That might sound cheesy, but it's absolutely true. If you put the work in out here, you're going to be rewarded with an incredible yield of tomatoes. So keep working on it. Stick with your maintenance. I know it can be difficult. We all have busy lives. I have a ton of plants. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope this has been a helpful video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Go ahead over to Instagram, Facebook, give us a follow there, and take care.